my favorite. I like that one.
I've got dirt on my Reeboks from staying up all night. I spent my last £10 on this pack of Marlboro Lights. I phoned up Stevie, I said, G, you alright? He said, it's 6 in the morning, brother, get some shut-eye. I feel a sense of well-being this time in the morning. Wear my heart out of my hoodie while the city is snoring. Drums falling off the sidewalks, get issued a warning. Distant sirens, they crescendo like a symphony calling. This is the Britain I know, this is the Britain I love. There's poetry inside the city if you listen enough. Working class casualties out on the streets sleep rough.
And view channel, and it shows live.
She's knocking them down, the cost of living goes up. I can't relate to politicians with their head in the mud. I resonate with messy Fridays with my voice smoking bud. We do our bit to numb the struggle. As below, so above. As above, so below. Here in the city we glow. I blow a smoke ring up to heaven and it makes a halo. And then the clock strikes 7. Guess it's time to head home. My companion is the city, so I'm never alone. Stepping in and out of gaps of the pavement cracks. If I go to sleep now, that's an anticlimax. People rise to work and the sun mirrors that. A perfect juxtaposition for those out on the lash. Bear with me, it's beautiful, I think it's irrefutable. There's beauty in the contradicting Britain, indisputable. Junkie in the cubicle, his old spoon is usable. His mother's in a black suit, crying at a funeral. 9 to 5 crucible, this route is not commutable. The kid falls off the tracks, then he serves a stretch of juvenile. Libby's at the Dollies, but her disposition's humorful. While Davy's at the bookies and his mates call him delusional Britain. Drink down and moan about the weather when the sun starts shining. Feel the factor 10 tremor. Boys will be in it together till the fish start flying like they're Conor McGregor when then he's out. I think he took it too far. I think the boy saw red. I think he hit him too hard.
Brandi!
Now he's face down on the pavement with a face full of tar. Mad how small altercations can define who we are. That's my cue. I guess it's time to head home. Bittersweet how my high found its way to below. Enough said it once before, as above so below. Living on the streets of Britain, you just go with the flow. But I'm done. I'm out for the night. As the sun paints the pavements, I'll turn out the light. White noise on the radio to quiet my mind. I always was an overthinker, just the way I'm designed. Brit, drink it down and moan about the weather. When it's all said and done, we'll be in it all together. Boys will be like it forever. It's a bittersweet symphony with birds of a feather.
Nice, Brandi.
Cause it's a bittersweet.
Too bad you can't have video up there in the corner of the song.
Adulting is definitely dumb.
You're a slave to money, then you die.
There we go. That's better.
Can I moderate from Chris Pierce's channel?
I would have to assign you as a moderator. All right. Good morning. Yeah, I told him to stay out from in front of the camera for a hot minute, and we'll get. I said, when you feel like it's a good time to pop over, you can pop over. But it's like, I gotta stay focused for the purpose of this live stream this morning for a hot second. All right, so you take care of the messages and. So good morning, everybody. We are, of course, Rock of the Boat Reactions, Gretchen here, and yes, Chris is in the background. He's monitoring the comments for me so that, you know, keep out any of the riffraff. So, meaning, if by some strange chance Ren shows up, we gotta kick him out because, you know, he'll cause nothing but chaos. So, of course I'm kidding. Of course we welcome, if he ever were to come in, I think we'd both pass out. Anyway, so today, this morning, we're going to just hit a brush over the topic of why we are here, why you guys even come here in the first place, and then we'll bring in some Christopher action and get engaged in some fun conversation. Oh, so, yeah. I have this shirt. Oh boy. That was made for me by a coworker's husband. This is my nurse when I was working. Says, not going down without a fight, with the lupus purple ribbon. Anyway, he made that for me, and I love it. It's super comfy. That was years ago, so it's a little faded. But anyway. Let's see. Who do we have in here, babe?
Brandi, Sakura, Dave, Mahi, Sakura, Brandi. There's 10 people in here.
I'm not sure what. Chris got banned. Well, he got mildly exiled. Not totally banned, just partially exiled. Anyway. FACH. I'm not sure what that. Okay. So, for this live stream today, I started a thing where I thought it would be fun for next week if we did maybe a little bit more of a Q&A. And yes, Chris is the husband. He'll be in front of the camera shortly, I'm sure. He'll come over and barrel his way through. But we wanted to do a fun thing, set a goal for if I get 5 super chats or super thanks or anything like that through this hour or however long we'll be on here, then next week we will do like however long you guys want with Q&A. We'll just a live Q&A session next week, and you can pretty much ask us anything because we're pretty well an open book. So you can ask about anything that you want. But that would be next week if we get to 5 super chats or super thanks through this. Anyway, so let's see how that goes. To start out, I want to thank everybody for the first 3 streams who have been hanging with me and continue to show up, so I appreciate you guys very much. And the topic that I'm going to start on today is brain fog, and I just need to know, like, immediately, how many of you guys that are out there right now deal with brain fog, like, on any level, whether it be mild to medium to extreme. Extreme being the kind that just debilitates you to where you can't literally function through your day. You can't go to work because your brain just isn't going to work. Let's get this in front of me because I can't see.
Brandi,
Brandi.
that's too much.
That's amazing, Brandi. Thank you so much. That explains it. Two comments above, she said, I've had Red Bull and I'm over caffeinated. Boom, $10. You're silly. We love you, Brandi.
We do that. Calm down.
Just wasn't expecting to see that. All right, so brain fog. Now, the majority of the stuff that I'm going to talk about from brain fog is from the Cleveland Clinic, and that's for a reason, and that's because they have one of the best departments in the United States anyway, and possibly the world, when it comes to neurological disease processes that does affect the brain. And there are others, but I particularly lean toward the Cleveland Clinic, mostly because during my residency for medical school, or post-medical school residency training, the Cleveland Clinic was a high influence on my education during my residency. Yeah, that can be a bonding factor for sure. Who's got the worst brain fog and who's can make a game out of it? Okay, who's the most forgetful? So we have basically brain fog being a group of symptoms that just affects your ability to think, remember, concentrate, and essentially cognitive impairment. If you were to go for an official diagnosis, it would probably lie under the cognitive impairment realm of diagnoses. And then if you're talking and you lose your train of thought, mid-conversation in particular, which is a good reason why I always have some notes down here so that when I do lose my train of thought, I can try to pick it up. And then the amount of time that your brain fog lasts is going to vary. It can be, a short amount of time, or it can be extended, weeks, months, whoever, just depends on your condition and if it's diagnosed and treated or not. And then the difficulty concentrating or focusing, that can be a really difficult one. And kind of, as you guys know, the whole deal with my situation kind of recently, it's harder for me to focus whenever I have multiple people talking, and it almost like puts my brain into almost a shutdown mode. Like if there's more than one person talking in my vicinity, and it's caught my attention, I almost like have this blank look on my face, like I'm trying to process what's happening. And I think it's kind of freaks Chris out a little bit because, you know, we've had a couple of episodes that have led to hospitalizations, and I think when he sees that, I think he's thinking, oh no, is this happening again? But anyway, and then confusion. So it kind of explains itself with brain fog. Not only difficulty in concentrating, but you can lead to actual confusion, so that you can have kind of an alarming episode where you maybe don't know where you are, you don't know who you're with. If you need to bring something to my attention, just
I'm
yell
gonna
it out.
post this on a bunch of lupus sites instead of Ren.
Yeah. And then along with all of that too comes fatigue, because as any of you who have issues with brain fog know, I mean, it mentally, physically wears you out. You work your brain so hard to try to make it work normal, that then, you know, it just causes you physical fatigue. And forgetfulness, obviously, the losing your train of thought, the mental exhaustion, as well as the physical fatigue. The mental exhaustion just because you're going through all these gymnastics trying to figure out, you know, what this person just said to me, and you're trying to take it and process it in your little, you know, super processor up here, and then you got to try to extrapolate the right words in the right format to then say it, and that's not always easy, and that can be a really mentally exhausting exercise. And then, so going along with that, then not having the right words to say. So the answer to that question, Brandi, is yes, absolutely. Lupus is a really difficult disease process, because not only does it make it hard to know what might be overlying and what might be something else, because right now, just to be honest, and I think I might have talked about this before, I've about a year and a half or 2 years ago, actually now I guess it was, I had a seizure/stroke, and we weren't really able to determine and parse that out to determine if it was an isolated thing or if it was because of lupus, because my lupus numbers weren't like crazy sky high through the roof at the time. They're always elevated, but they weren't, it wasn't like those two definitely connect. But then my initial EEG was normal, and then it was like now 4 months ago, that I had another potential seizure episode, and then on follow-up scans had the evidence of the stroke. Anyway, so all of those things happening in the brain, and then what they believe is happening is that just ultimately the lupus is causing inflammation in my brain, and I've been on higher dose steroids, which I hate, since that hospitalization in the end of March, to try to help to regulate that. And I don't know if I've said this before, but I'm going to get on a little bit of a rant right now, which is my last follow-up with my rheumatologist for lupus. They said that if I had been able to remain on the Benlysta infusion, which I had been on, it was the first of 2014, babe? Does that sound right? 2013 or 2014. I was started on it, and then my insurance company, I was a doctor at the time, the insurance company decided they were not going to continue to pay for it, so I had to go off of it, and I went really downhill pretty quickly after that infusion medicine being stopped. Had to stop seeing medicine, it's been 9 years now since I practiced medicine. At this most recent visit, she said, if you would have been able to stay on Benlysta, this probably wouldn't be happening. And I just kind of broke down, and I was like, that really sucks, because, I mean, even though I have Medicare, I don't have a supplement, the copay for that medication, I can't get it cheaper because my income's too much. So I'm in this limbo loop of being able to really control things probably optimally, and it's very frustrating. So I was devastated when she said, that if I'd been listed like through the whole time, it probably, this stuff wouldn't be happening. So, I need a job over there. Anyway, so the next thing on the list is, oh, and I guess to throw in other things, there's rheumatoid arthritis. So the overlapping stuff with rheumatoid arthritis as well as lupus, but the lupus kind of being the main driver of all things for me. So then we talked about the not being able to come up with the right words when it comes to the brain fog, and then just in general, a slow thought process and reaction time, which I know is my husband's favorite. He loves it when he asks me a question and I sit there and I'm like, you know, maybe looking off to the side or, you know, whatever, and I'm like trying to come up with something, and and then eventually I start to speak, and it usually is a slow and methodical, you know how I do in like all my videos, slow and just kind of trying to come up with my words as I go. And yeah, that's something that's his favorite, because he's like, I think, falling asleep in between my answers. Hey, by the way, like our guy from last week who kept falling asleep during the he said he was falling asleep during the live stream. Who was that?
What was the name?
Hold on, I think I wrote it down.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but when will we change? The when will we change handle. I mean, if that person shows up, everybody watch out. But anyway, and then ultimately too, just the trouble paying attention. So let me tell you, I am so grateful that I got through medical school, because I was diagnosed with lupus in 2003, I think it was, 2003, at the Mayo Clinic, and in Rochester, is that Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I got into medical school, started medical school actually in 2004. I was diagnosed in 2003, got into medical school in 2004, made it through medical school with just a couple of small problems in my second year. I had to escalate my treatment, and I had a bout with pancreatitis, mild pancreatitis, didn't get hospitalized for it or anything. But otherwise, I mean, I mostly did okay. And then through residency, somehow the stress of residency didn't send me over the edge. So I was really thankful for that, because trouble paying attention when you're trying to become a practicing physician is not a good problem to have. So I was able to manage through all of that.
Did you see what Brandi said? That's whack. Did she watch Not Another Teen Movie?
Brandi, have you seen Not Another Teen Movie? We watched that the other day, so and that's whack.
That's whack.
It is whack, by the way. I mean, our healthcare system in this country is not perfect, but it wouldn't, in my opinion, it wouldn't take a whole lot of changes to make it better. The biggest change is for the deregulation, in my opinion, of insurance companies and their ability to dictate what doctors do for their patients. Doctors have to jump through so many hoops because insurance companies require it. So for instance, if I had a patient who I knew had, let's say they had a mass on the X-ray, and I'm saying this patient needs to have a CAT scan with IV contrast. Well, that's not good enough for the insurance companies. They're going to make you jump through a couple more tests before they will say you can do this CAT scan with IV contrast. And so then you've wasted two other resources, and the not only the use of the equipment, but the cost to the patient for scheduling and going to the test, paying for the use of the equipment, the facility charge, the radiologist reading it. All of that stuff is extra nonsense that doesn't need to be done if the insurance companies would just be like, okay, so the doctor is saying that this is what's happening with their patient, they need this test done, boom, that's just it. But instead it's, the doctor says it's this, they want this test done, but we got to make them do A, B, C, and D before we'll let them do E. And if they can just fix that, the bureaucracy and the nonsense that the insurance companies make you go around, that would ultimately be a big help. It would lower the cost of healthcare in this country by a lot, but that's not the way it works. So, and yeah, it would be too. That would be way too freaking easy. Like, just, I can't tell you how many times I got on the phone when my nurses would be on the phone with an insurance company, and I had a test that I really needed to have done on a patient because they had active symptoms or whatever, and we needed to get them figured out. And I could hear them outside of my office on the phone with an insurance company and just being frustrated because they couldn't get something approved. And so I would get on the phone and I'd be like, "This is Dr. Pierce. Can I help you? What's going on?" And so they would say blah, blah, blah. And for instance, I said, "Okay, look, this is a patient who is having active cardiac symptoms. She has a family member who passed away at a young age from acute MI. If this patient doesn't get what's needed to be diagnosed and treated, and she passes away before you guys decide to approve this test, then it's on you." And she said, "Okay, here's your approval number." And I was like, why should this be this difficult? Why should the doctor have to get on the phone, spend 3 minutes aggressively speaking with an insurance person to get something approved that I already know needs to be done? Anyway, now, don't get me wrong, doctors don't always get it right. Yes, sometimes this test that's up here doesn't need to be done and it can be diagnosed with this test down here. But that, in my opinion, doesn't negate the doctor's education and ability to diagnose and order appropriate tests over insurance companies, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, that in a nutshell was the things that we experience when we have brain fog. And so now just some of the causes of those symptoms of brain fog. I'm going to shift back over to the purpose of this live stream being brain fog. Lack of sleep, obviously. Autoimmune conditions including systemic lupus, MS, fibromyalgia, there's many others, diabetes, hypoglycemia, anxiety, depression, other mental health conditions. If you are a neurodivergent person, ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, those are things that will just kind of almost inherently interfere with your sleep. ADHD, you just can't fall asleep. Your brain is, you're just always going, always running. Hormonal changes like during pregnancy and menopause. Any woman who's been pregnant or has gone through menopause understands the brain fog associated with pregnancy brain. And then poor nutrition. So if you're not only sleep quality, but if your nutrition isn't balanced, if you're not getting enough nutrients and vitamins, then that's going to just contribute more to the brain fog. And then stress. I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm feeling pretty stress-free these days. There's nothing going on in the world that's causing me any stress. As a matter of fact, like I've said before, coming up to the live stream, I have to kind of mentally make myself decompress. And so this little gem over here, this little guy right here, I told Chris, I was like, I just did that doodling yesterday, and I said, it looks like I'm running for like a high school student council position or something. Pretty low quality. Lou, we are happy to have you here today.
Lou's in the house.
Whoop whoop. Good morning, Lou. Anyway, let's see what I've missed. Give me a minute to scroll through.
I'm on different Facebook sites putting this on.
Okay. Oh, you know what, Brandi? Another thing was that they're supposed to be like, was that, it's almost been 2 years ago now, hasn't it? It's been a year and a half ago now where they were supposed to be ruling out whether I had some MS going on as well, because I started getting some crazy tingling and different symptoms that also happened at the same time, around the same time when a few months later I ended up with the seizure and stroke. So, yes, it's hard to parse out what's lupus versus some other things. And all right. Oh no. I keep pushing the wrong thing and it keeps... There we go. Well, Lou, we're so happy to be of service to get you the Rogan news. We're going to start becoming... We're going to do, let's see. What is it? Ron Burgundy and Tits McGee. What's her name? What is Christina Applegate's on the Ron Burgundy
I can't remember.
show? Anchorman.
Yeah.
Tits McGee is all I can think of. We'll start being the breaking news. Anyway, so going back to some causes for brain fog, some others, long COVID infection, chemotherapy, so chemo brain.
And there are 3 people.
Long hospital stays. So long hospital stays is a tricky one because, and I've definitely, again, on the physician side, dealt with this, where the longer that a person is in the hospital, the more likely that they are to start to develop some confusion, the brain fog, and that's just because they're not up and active. They may get up and walk either in their room or down the hall with physical therapy, or if they are independent enough, they can walk down the halls at their leisure. Just depends on their situation. But long hospital stays can really work a person's brain in a bad way. So you have to be sure when you are dealing with someone that's in the hospital and they have an acute state of confusion, you have to determine, okay, is this something that's like, are we dealing with an electrolyte imbalance, or is there an infection that's now gotten worse, or are we just dealing with the fact that it's, well, we call it sundowning. If it happens in the evening, you can have sundowning where they get really confused, and so that one's kind of a hard one to sort out sometimes. And then with the COVID infection, there were changes. It caused changes in everybody's intestinal microbiome. I mean, that virus just kind of wreaked havoc in about every system, and which then ultimately lowers the serotonin that your body will produce. And so lower serotonin, less brain activity. So kind of getting your gut microbiome back in order is something that's recommended if you did have a COVID infection and you might have some lingering brain fog from that. So what is it that we can do about our brain fog that can make it better? So again, I kind of asked the question of the few who are in here now, does anybody suffer from brain fog, and have you found anything that you can do for yourself that makes it better? And I'm going to leave that for a minute or two and take a drink of my Mountain Dew.
I wonder did Lou have a bad week with her comment?
She actually had said on, I think it was on the Rogan interview, she said that the videos were helping her get through with little entertainment and distraction, and that she was doing okay. And this is my coffee, because I don't drink coffee, so this is my coffee. And I know it's not healthy.
Brandi asked a question.
Thank you. 100%.
There's lots of prescriptions. I assume you're asking about RX meaning a prescription, right? Oh, that's amazing. Lou, thank you for joining us this morning, man.
Oh, right. I was wondering if that was a... Brandi said yes.
Yeah, so the answer is absolutely yes. There are several medications that can cause confusion, and so when you get prescribed a new medication, that gives you the list of the more common side effects to the less common. And so if you see up on the top list of the more common side effects experienced is confusion, then that you can either, if you already are afflicted with brain fog or the difficulty with processing things with your supercomputer up here, I mean, you may just say from the jump, I see that confusion is a common side effect. Maybe is there something else that doesn't have that, quite as prominent? Or you can give it a trial for a couple of weeks and see if, like with Brandi, if it does, it might cause you some issues from the beginning, but then as your body adjusts, then it might clear out. That would just be, a small piece of something to keep in the back of the mind. And I need everyone to remember, as I'm saying this stuff, I am not a current licensed practicing physician. I did not let I let my medical license expire because of all the cost, expense, and travel that it takes to continue with your medical license. And so it's not offering medical advice. I don't diagnose or treat people. Just more of an informational type of a thing. So exactly, Brandi, we're just chatting. I drive his family and friends crazy if they ask me something and I'm like, I'm probably not going to answer that question. It may be something about, I've got a runny nose, or I've got an itchy throat, or
I calm Lou.
like, huh?
I calm Lou, she said.
Aw, that's awesome. You are a calming force. Chris really is a calming force, believe me. All right. So, okay. So in the when it comes to brain fog, some of the treatments are solutions, and then Chris will probably come over and we'll have some fun chat after that. So I gotta get through my part first. So improving your sleep habits. So that if you've ever heard the term sleep hygiene, that's actually a real deal, true blue. Your sleep hygiene, you need to evaluate if you're having difficulty sleeping. What is it that's keeping you awake? For me, the big thing for me is technology, and I just don't sleep well through the night normally anyway because I'm of pain or whatever, usually pain. And so in order to try to get myself to go back to sleep, I'll play games on my phone or whatever. But ultimately, I have the light down all the way low and no volume on, and so I'm trying to go through the period where the pain, like I can't have covers on my feet because my feet hurt too much, or I gotta get up and either take a Tylenol or put on some of my handy dandy topical stuff that you guys always see me putting on, something. Put on my copper gloves or take off my copper gloves, whatever. And so sleep hygiene is a big deal. And so if you do have problems with not getting a good night's sleep, really it is taking a deep dive evaluation of what your sleep habits are, what you eat or drink before, what you do that stimulates your brain before going to bed, and then what you have during bedtime that might keep you awake. All those things can be modified to improve your sleep habits. And then obviously optimizing your disease process. So whatever your medical condition is that may or may not be affecting your brain fog, optimizing those to improve the brain fog, and then writing down important information. So if you know that you have issues with brain fog, if you can remember to write things down, write those important things down. And then this one's not always so, like if you are doing your 9 to 5 and you got to go work for the man, you can't necessarily do this, but take short breaks throughout the day to reduce overworking your brain. So about 30 minutes each of a break. That's not really realistic. I mean, if you work some kind of I hate to say this, but if you work a government job, that might be your best shot. Being able to have 15-minute breaks every hour or every 2 hours or whatever. Or if you work in some kind of an environment that requires that you get frequent breaks, but it's going to be probably 15-minute breaks, not 30-minute breaks. And then trying to get about 30 minutes of physical activity in a day. And I'm here to tell you right now that that's not necessarily for me. You know, I can't get 30 minutes of physical activity in per day. I don't even know if I could really get, I don't know, babe, can you get 5-10 minutes of physical activity?
I don't know.
Just that depends on the day. I might be able to get 30 minutes of physical activity in for the week. Anyway, and then participate in psychotherapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. And then the kind of the last thing on the list is if it's really bad and the things that you do to come to a resolution on your own isn't working, then maybe something like antidepressants or non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen or Aleve could be done on a trial basis through your doctor's recommendation, of course, if it comes to the point where it's disruptive to your daily activities. So if you're just unable to do your daily activities or whatever would be your normal routine, then it's worth talking to your doctor about the brain fog, and if there's anything that they can prescribe other suggestions to help to get that where it's more manageable and you can have a more normal of a day. I can't believe that took me 30 minutes to talk through those little points. I'm a yapper. All right. So as a reminder for those who are in here, we want to do a live Q&A session. If we get 5 super chats or 5 super thanks on this live stream, then Chris and I will do like however long. Doesn't matter. It could be 30 minutes, an hour and a half, just whatever, of a live question and answer where you can literally ask us basically anything. There might be some limitations. I don't know. Depends on what the questions are. Depends on who's in the chat. What kind of questions might be asked. But if we get 5 super chats or super thanks during this stream, next week we will do the live Q&A. So that'll be fun.
So
smart. I feel attacked about physical activity.
is that Brandi?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, that's just from me to you, girly. I've the same, just. Yes, you can talk about Ren's abs on the live chat. That I almost couldn't even get that out. Sorry, babe.
Wow. It's like your mom saying Johnny Cash to your dad.
We can speak about
all
things Ren at the live Q&A, as a matter of fact, and
or right now.
Or right now. But I was watching a video yesterday of him out when they were busking. It was Romaine's busking. Who else saw that? Where Romaine was busking and then Ren came in and did a little, and I couldn't even tell what song or whatever that he was doing. And there was this older gentleman that was all up in his face with his phone. And some people thought that, since Ren didn't seem distracted or distressed by it, that maybe he knew the person and maybe knew that they're, that person's story or whatever. I want to be real sensitive there, but that video was a lot of fun because it's just nice seeing him out, and of course, seeing him out with no shirt on was fun, but seeing him out and about just doing his thing. And by the way, does anyone know is someone ever going to get wise enough to sponsor him for an underwear campaign? Like Mark Wahlberg. There was a joke that that the brand that he wears had done he had done a campaign for them or whatever, and then other people are like, nah, Ren wouldn't do that. He wouldn't stoop down to the commercial level of Cheer Chris in the background go, okay.
So we may have people coming in from a lupus forum.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. Brandi, just don't tell anybody, alright? Like, we'll keep that on the down low. I mean, let's face it. he's an interesting Ren is an interesting individual because he went from being basically in solitary confinement in his bedroom in his teenage years and having very little or no exposure to sunlight to then, what was it, 7-8 years or whatever later, then he finally gets his chance after a stem cell transplant to then start to live a little. And that's when I love it in the chapter 8, was it? That is his chapter 8 video on Ren Makes Stuff. So those of you who haven't seen the Ren Makes Stuff chapter 8 video, or I did a reaction to it. Anyway, he talks about the busking and finding the big push, and Romaine and Goran and Glenn, is that the drummer's name? And him, at that point, then he discovered girls liked musicians. It's precisely it, Lou. That's why. But you know what? Whatever. So whenever I was talking about on, was that on Power or Uninvited, whatever, and he finally discovered that girls like musicians and he likes girls, and Chris says, well, maybe I need to learn how to play the guitar. I'm like, hello, there's this ring right here that says that the statement is inappropriate, but then here I am. It's fine if Rin's out there with no shirt on. It's all good. The 90s were the best. Let me tell you something. We're going to start probably getting into more outside of the Reniverse music reaction videos. I don't know how we're going to do that, though, especially if he has new music that's getting ready to be released, because there's also so much Ren material that we still haven't done. But the 90s had some awesome music, not only music, but movies, and we would really like to get more into doing some reactions to some of our favorite songs from that time frame, because that was our glory days. The 90s, we were grade school and high school. Would you say grade school, junior high, high school? No, the 90s we were done. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? The 80s was our grade school and high school. Because he graduated in 90 and I graduated in 91. Man, time is weird. Oh, I missed a message that you deleted?
Well, I shouldn't have. I guess it said that Von Gray said, I hope I come back as your body lotion in my next life. So I shouldn't have. I mean, no big deal. I don't know how to undelete it.
That's fine.
Problem.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I never even. Babe, have you heard of Portishead back in the days? Lou said.
Mm-mm.
Let's see what this message is. What was.
I don't know.
I saw it. Alright. So, Christopher, do you want to come over here and.
In a minute, I'm working on these, a few different sites.
So.
I guess I can do that on the line.
Yeah. We can chat a little bit more about the fact that what he has to put up with either the brain fog or just not even really necessarily brain fog, just processing. I guess it's the same difference, but like if we get to talking and he asks me, multiple questions at a time, and I literally am sitting there like, I don't know.
What up?
Players? Hopefully that doesn't fall over. Make him falling forward.
Zach is I hate you.
Oh, well, we love you regardless. It's okay. But we're glad that you're here to, join into our comments and add into the number of comments that we've got live stream, so thank you.
Right.
We'll take all sorts and stripes.
And what's on the... Brandi, help me with what the hubby goes through. Do you not need to turn that up?
No,
Oh, 'cause
they're
it's
listening
just
to
you,
us.
right.
Yeah, they would be getting echo from what we are saying on your phone, so you can turn your volume all the way down. Here.
Oh.
So, Brandi, last week you talked about you had something that was pending a result. Did you get a result? Again, I don't really want to blast out your business. Was it Brandi, or maybe it was somebody else? There was a test that was diagnosis pending.
Yeah, that was...
Oh, I had it written on Brandi, but I may have written it down on the wrong person. And Lou, we're all right with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we thank you for that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, when it comes to Chris's perspective on dealing with... So, let me give just a little bit of backstory. When we first met, which was in 2010, it was actually July 4th, 2010, and it just is a happenstance meeting. We're both from Joplin, and we both kind of had a similar pattern of places that we went. Like, I worked at a restaurant that he went to a lot and never met. But anyway, when we got together toward the end of 2010, you know, I was feeling my health was pretty good. And so he didn't even know that I had any health issues until months later, when I started to have a flare or whatever. And so then he's finding out that this person that he has, I guess, fallen in love with, I don't know, has this chronic, incurable health thing. I mean, he at that point had to decide, you know, this is something I went into not knowing. How do I feel about that? What am I going to do about that? And so, I don't know how that might be a place to take it from there for you.
Well, I think I accepted it pretty immediately. I mean, but you don't know. I didn't know anything about lupus or autoimmune disease or any of that stuff. So it's just something you have to learn as you go along. And then, of course, you deteriorate as you go along. And I don't know if they know, but both the kids have a problem as well. The daughter has...
Well, she's diagnosed with
Rheumatoid, and they think that she also has lupus, but
Right.
as you know, that takes a while to diagnose. And then Tyler, my son, has psoriatic arthritis.
Right. So both the kids have an autoimmune. So...
But the thing with from his perspective, as far as I see it, is that once he decides that he's in and he's, you know, like, once he found out that I had lupus and what it's all about, then when he decided, you know what, we can get through that, you know, I can deal with that, then that's just it. Like, he's in, and fully in, and becomes pretty protective, is fairly on top of how I'm feeling even before I recognize how I'm feeling. He's making comments like, babe, do you need to maybe take some Tylenol, or you need to maybe increase your steroids? Or...
Man, when I tell her to take steroids, I mean, sometimes I get punched. She's like, why don't you take steroids, you blank and blank and blank. Man, those steroids, it's too bad that they're so effective, because, man, they suck. I mean, she has 25% bone deterioration, osteoporosis because of them. You know, of course, they make you gain weight, and that pisses her off. But, man, sometimes they're just... Because she doesn't have pain pills either. She has no pain pills. So, steroids are really the only thing that can work. So.
And so, kind of as another little topic, piggybacking off of the pain pill thing, I think I've spoken once before about the fact that because we do full-time RV, and and this is our choice, we choose to full-time RV because it gives us the ability to be in whatever climate and location throughout the year that works best for my situation. Oh boy, what we got?
Brandi says she loves steroids.
I'm calling BS on that one, Brandi. Unless it's anabolic steroids. And
I'm down for that, but she won't let me. I'm like, hey, I need 2 shoulders, 2 knees. I'm like, I need some steroids. She's like, no.
Not in a million years. Anyway, so when it comes to the...
Thank you, Brandi. He
Lou?
legally blind and
Yeah.
bright-eyed.
Congenital cataracts. Yeah, I remembered that, Lou, from our first live stream.
Did you see earlier where it says I'm a dude from Houston?
Oh, so Lou... Wait a minute.
I'm a dude in Houston.
I don't know why. Always, Lou as not the dude, as a well. Now I feel like
Congenital cataracts.
Congenital.
Male.
Well, we still love you, Lou. Regardless. I'm just kidding.
Digging a hole. Texas represent. Oh.
Anyway, let's talk about losing. Oh, the pain meds. So with the going through state to state to state, being Missouri, New Mexico, Arizona, or our normal stops, I would have to have
your age, born in '73 in Vietnam. She's born 73.
Right after my dad came back from Vietnam. Anyway, we had a while where we were trying to get pain meds from one state that wasn't our primary residence. I don't know how to say this. We were in Arizona trying to get pain meds there, and it just became a real debacle. And so I finally just put my foot down and said, this is ridiculous. I'm not fighting this anymore. It shouldn't be this difficult for people in this country to be treated just across state lines for a pain condition. So I put my foot down, and then now it's just been Tylenol, and I do get some tramadols from my rheumatologist. But anyway, if anybody else out there who has the pain medication dilemma of getting appropriately treated for your pain, I feel ya. I feel ya.
They do not make it easy.
No, and that may be a topic for a future live stream that would, if anyone's learned anything over the years of whether it be coping or how to navigate it. I don't know.
We have an interesting situation because we're full-time RVers, so we go from Missouri to Arizona to New Mexico, and so we have not only medication problems as far as we have doctor problems, so our doctors are in Joplin, Missouri, but we're hardly ever in Joplin in spring and fall, so we always have it's a circle. It's a circle.
And so, Lou, yeah, the weather in Texas being crazy. I don't know if you have seen that we're actually in Ruidoso, New Mexico right now, and so like 3-4 days ago they had that flooding that came through. It rained really hard, and we're up on the south side of the village on a mountainside that made us where we are currently parked in the RV was not affected, but you go down the hill and there were cars washing down I-70.
Well, it was deadly. It killed 3 people,
Yeah.
including a couple kids.
And last year, after the wildfires, they were getting floods and they had to shut the racetrack down. Well, they just had to shut the racetrack down again. So this poor little village the economy is just being crushed by the wildfires and then the subsequent recurrent flooding because of the fires.
So the same thing that happened in Texas happened here. The flash floods came through the valley and wiped everything out, and I mean, I was almost in that too. I was driving down in there, had to turn around that day.
Yeah.
This is 3 days ago when the floods came through and took a couple kids away. And
So, Brandi, I absolutely hear you. That is one of the hardest part, and I'll say one thing extra, not only about with crossing state lines and doctors, but we have, I have long-term disability through my previous employer, and again, my disdain for insurance companies is goes a little deeper in the fact that, of course, they're going to try to deny every claim, right? They're going to insurance companies' default is just say no. And so they tried to say that I no longer qualified for long-term disability, and it was because a doctor put in one word in one of my medical visits, and that was the word stable. And so I had to fight that, and I was like, so you're telling me that if I have a patient in the ICU and I say from one day to the next that they're stable, that then that would mean to you that they're okay to go back to work? But they're still in the ICU and they're still on a ventilator. I mean, what the hell? It was frustrating. So because of that, along with the pain medication, not being able to prescribe over state lines as a doctor, my doctor in Missouri can't prescribe pain medications anymore over a state line. They can do tramadol, and that's the only pain medicine they can do across state lines is tramadol. But we had to then decide, well, am I going to go see a different doctor to continue on pain meds in each state, or are we just going to forget it? And what we did was I said, forget it. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting a doctor in each state, because if that doctor says one thing wrong, then that could put our
what's the movie where Matt Damon's an early lawyer?
The Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker. Matt Damon's a young lawyer, and the town poisons the water, I think, or the factory that poisons the water.
That one might be Aaron Brockovich.
Well, same type of thing though. And the long-term disability, it's a percentage thing. They just deny all claims, period, and only 1 out of 10 people will fight it. So that's a real interesting movie. So we actually lived that. I mean, when we went into the doctors who denied us, when we went into his claims, they were all canceled on long-term disability, all the claims. And so it was clear he was on the payroll, and it took us a while, and we fought it and we got it back, but yikes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to deal with for
sure.
sure.
I always say
it's frustrating for us, but think of how much more frustrating it would be for someone who doesn't understand the inner workings of the system. I mean, I'm like, people who have never dealt with healthcare in general or insurance companies, they're going to have an even more difficult time, and I only really knew how to navigate it because of my own experience with having been on the doctor side of it and fighting with insurance companies. And so it's a sad situation when you're as sick as you can be, as limited as you can be, and you have to fight to not be essentially forced to go to work, which would be something that would be impossible. I mean, it would just be, it's really, I just...
sorry, I'm late.
Oh,
welcome!
Marianne.
Welcome!
Yo, Marianne.
Whoa, it was like a song. Start of a Ren song.
And Marianne is in Norway, right? Marianne's Norway.
I don't know, but that's crazy.
Right? West coast of Norway. Also, that's Marianne.
I want to go to Norway.
So let me tell you that the hot topic in the United States with the whole Medicare, Medicaid cuts and all of that, and really I think what it boils down to is tightening of the regulation of who qualifies and ultimately gets Medicare and Medicaid benefits. Because, for instance, he has not had health insurance since I left working as a doctor, and that's been 9 years. So he has not had insurance for 9 years. We can't even get it through the Obamacare because it would cost us like $800 a month premium.
It's $900 a month, $9,000 deductible.
Of a deductible, yeah. So it's like, I mean, we can cash pay for his regular visits, but if something devastating happens, like again, he has 2 bad knees. He has had since I was working because I was able to inject.
She kept beating me with a hammer.
I'd inject his knees with with corticosteroids and stuff, and big baby.
She'd come home with needles and pull stuff out of my knee. Like, I don't think other people are getting this kind of treatment at home.
Like, oh yeah, they are.
Man.
But anyway, so
Oh, yeah,
and from our perspective, it's like, you know, if my husband has gone 9 years without any insurance, and yet if there's some way that we can improve that system, I'm with that as well. So, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. But the point being is that our country not taking care of our own citizens uninsured is a little bit of a bug in my craw because of his situation. Like, he needs some stuff. Like, he has a back and shoulders and knees, and we can't take care of any of it because we just don't have the insurance. So it's
so she
wild.
just punches me
Right.
at random.
Yeah, I'm like, does it hurt here? Okay.
Is it, you guys watch Nate Bargatze, the comedian? He says, you know, those nudging days are long gone. She hits me with the closed fist. Not really, but
Sometimes I might want to.
sometimes a hammer.
Babe.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think I can edit this.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Every year, you know, we go in every year to the marketplace and try to reapply and see if there's something that's changed, the guidelines or whatever that's changed, and see if the prices have, the income bracket maybe. Because the crazy thing is that it's the income from my long-term disability from having been a doctor, but what they don't pay attention to is the fact that I only practiced for like 5 years before I had to quit, and so I had all these student loans left to pay for. So my income, my real income, is dramatically lower because of the student loans.
Yeah,
pay back.
yeah. You think being a doctor is all fun and sexy, but when I met her, she has $400,000 in student loans. She practiced for 5 years, had to give up her practice, which she had 4,000 patients. And so then we're left with about 200,000 in student loans and not that income. So
right. So
put that in your pipe and smoke it. We still have 9 years later. We still have like 10,000 left.
But we're getting there. Did you see Brandi said Crutch punches you in the arm? Does your knee hurt now?
Yes.
Because you can't see what I'm doing to him under the table. Wait, don't be dirt. Keep your minds out of the gutter. Talking about punching on his
Why?
knee.
You gotta
over
not
here.
set them up.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. Our healthcare system. So essentially, it's like Canada. It's kind of socialized medicine, kind of. They didn't ever get it really right. But what happens is there's no competition to drive pricing down from the insurance companies. So there's like 2 insurance companies that handle Obamacare. And so there's no competition. They get to charge whatever they want. Now, if you don't make a lot of money, you can get it pretty cheap. If you make good money, it ain't.
Yeah,
So-
like our kids both have, my daughter, she's a single mom, and then the
Yeah.
the son, and the son, so they're able to, under the marketplace healthcare, get good insurance, or good enough anyway. But the one thing that I do like about this country's healthcare is the fact that it goes beyond general medical. Like if I have someone who had a stroke, who is a hemorrhagic stroke, and they need a neurological intervention, like, it can be done like immediately. It's not something that is going to wait weeks and months to get a specialist in. If it's something that's emergent,
If the doctor's taking patients, though,
well, you can
it's
always,
not that easy.
in this country, in general, because most hospital systems, like for instance, I had the luxury. The hospital that I worked at was also the hospital that I did my residency at. So I had worked directly and trained directly under several of those physicians in that hospital system, and so I knew that I could call them up and say, "Hey, this is Gretchen. I've got this patient that's got this going on. They really need to be seen soon. Can you get them in? Blah blah blah." And then they may say, "Well, I'm in the office today. Send them over now." Or, you know, whatever. So it's the networking. So you have to be willing as the doctor to pick up the phone, to call another doctor and say, hey, I've got this person who really needs to be taken care of. And
but on the flip side of that,
in the US that can be easily done versus in some other countries the way I understand it.
Brandi has a real question.
Yeah.
Brandi, she would fake it. Even if she's not okay, she'd fake it.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, not fake. You know what I mean? Just, she, you know how it is. You're tough when you shouldn't have to be.
When I start squirming around, then you know.
Yeah, which is in about 10 minutes. So, right.
Actually, I think it was
but on
50 minutes ago.
back to her statement on the network and doctors. But now that she's not a practicing physician, we're on the opposite in that she needs a neurological consult. So, in KU Medical Center, we have to wait till November to get that neurological consult so she can get EEGs and stuff because she has some neurological stuff now. So that's November. I mean, that was a month ago. So that's 6 months that we're going to have to wait. That's just not good enough.
Yeah, but at the same time, I know that if it became like an emergency type situation, they would then move that up. And so, you know, I'm being treated. It's not like I'm not being treated. I'm on three new medicines for it. So, anyway.
And maybe we should all get a group trip and go to Norway.
Heck yeah. Let's go see Marianne in Norway. See what that's all about.
Although,
see what's up. Just not probably in the winter time.
Whatever. They should all come see us in Lake Havasu in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
Whew.
Lake Havasu, Arizona in the winter is the place to
And
be.
Brandi is where?
Brandy's in
Is it not Austin?
DFW area.
Oh, in Dallas.
And so emergency care is not free. Emergency care, though, under certain insurance programs is very low cost. Like you might have a copay of $50 or you might have a copay of $150. So it's not free, but
she's not too far from us when we're in Joplin.
that's probably true.
So I'll be down at Lake Fork around Dallas come I think about 8 weeks or so.
So I'm Luz, I'm 8N. What's that for?
Brandi, we have a feeling you're down for about anything. Like, we got a feeling you're the type that's just in.
Braggart alert, finally met our deductible for the...
Oh my gosh. It is halfway through the year. More than halfway through the year. You got that deductible met. Get it all done now.
It's like I have to get a bunch of my meds refilled, and I'm thinking, so Albertsons is about the cheapest pharmacy that I have found, and if I meet my the copay on my prescription drug plan, then the meds get really cheap, like $1 and $5, and that's amazing.
Well, back to that. You know, she has Medicare. She is on long-term disability, but we had to cancel the supplement because it was almost $400 a month.
Yeah, my
the supplement was almost $400 a month.
The supplement I had was Mutual of Omaha, which I loved. Mutual of Omaha, it was great. But yeah, their prices, they just kept raising it every year. And finally, I came to the point where I was like, I mean, this is out of control. At what point? And this was before all this other stuff started happening with me. My health, I was in general, I hadn't started having any of the seizure, stroke stuff yet, and the tingles and all that crap hadn't started happening yet, but we're sorry, Mary. Hopefully the American tourists are tolerable.
And by the way, if you guys want to talk Ren, just jump in with Ren stuff.
Yeah,
There's
for
a lot of
sure.
Ren stuff going on.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what, other than the Joe Rogan thing, which I was so, I mean, going into the Joe Rogan's episode where Lucas Nelson mentioned Ren and reading the comments, I mean, the renegades are working it. Like, it would shock me if the Rogan podcast didn't reach out to Ren for an interview. And I guess the Vince's tale, me too. My question is for you guys who are still in here, I mean, do you think he should do Rogan, or do you think he should stay away from it because it's kind of off brand for him?
Well, I didn't know there were that many Rogan haters.
Because while I'm not necessarily a big fan of Joe Rogan, I do think that he is a good interviewer. I think he's a fairly good listener, and he asks fairly good questions.
Depends how stoned he is.
That's true. But Ren, however, on the flip side, is an excellent interviewee. Ren gives amazing interviews, and he's very well spoken, and his reach that he could get into that 20 million plus viewers that or subscribers that Joe has just on YouTube alone. He has 20 million. That would be, it would be a great platform, or well, it would just be a good opportunity to reach even more people, which everybody deserves to be reached. Just because he has 20 million subscribers, Rogan does, that doesn't mean that those 20 million people don't deserve to be introduced to Ren. Not all of them are, like Rogan clones. So.
Not that Ren's not doing fine by himself.
Yeah.
He is. He's got 2.5 million himself.
And I agree, Lou, that Ren can get through to some of that fan base. And I feel like that there's been a couple people on our video that we did that said came from the Rogan podcast, watched Hi Ren, and I now sub to your channel and am now looking farther into Ren. I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Right. Yeah, Marianne ultimately, of course. I love the neutrality. It's like Sweden. Is that right? Is Sweden the neutral country? Yeah. Totally agree. Alright, how long have we been on here? It's been an hour and 15 minutes. Alright, everybody.
What? You're done?
I was gonna be done.
Hold on.
If you have...
Hold on. Let's see if you guys like her with long hair or short.
Boy.
I was kind of thinking she should go back to this color hair. Where are you guys at on that? Or long or short? Wow. Stay long, go short, just keep the color? Let us know.
I can answer that though. I'm never going back to longer hair. The shorter hair for showering and getting ready purposes is the shit. Can I say that?
She's been very happy about that. I won't recognize her if she changes.
Something in the middle.
Oh.
See, I go with the full shave on a number 4 blade for the shave on the bottom part to just not have to fart with it.
And that is why she did it. It was too much in the shower.
Yeah, Brandi, long hair is a chore. Yeah.
And we don't have we live in an RV. We don't have a real, shower. It's a cell. It's not like it's a great big one you can sit down in.
Last week I called it like a telephone booth.
My shower, I can hit on both sides. Oh.
We're like this in the shower. Not we.
Before we go, what do you guys want to talk about next week? You want to do more Ren, more health, just what we're doing?
So far we've got Brandi with the $110 super chat, super comment.
That's all it's going to be today. Thank you for that. That was too much.
Yes, thank you so much, Brandi. So we didn't get to the 5, but you know what? We may just consider that a win. We'll see. I'll think about it. Exactly, Brandi. No more super chats. Hello. We just need 4 more.
I'll tell you what we can do. Although I kind of like the amount of kind of like if we get too many people, it's not going to be as personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, our regulars, you guys are right up our street.
Mm-hmm.
But I might do a better job of promoting it through the week. Like I just signed us up for a bunch of lupus forums, but you know, we want to talk about Ren too, and we got a big Ren week coming up. Is that this week?
Thursday.
It's theoretically.
Are we going to do that live? Are we going to react live? Like do what we're doing now? Why that's happening?
We could think about that.
We're going to think about that. So
You see Marianne sit at a telephone box with a pole.
that's exactly right.
RVing is an interesting
Change, but we love it.
By the way, 7 years of RVing now. We've lived in 300 square feet for 7.5 years.
but it's pretty perfect.
For our situation. I do miss though. I miss my puppy dog. This was Crispy, our little Yorkie. It was almost a year ago. August 31st.
Oh, I thought it was July 4th.
When he passed, and
He was only 7.
Yep. He was a diabetic for over a year.
anyway,
He was my little man. I miss him to pieces. So we're considering whether or not we want to get another dog in the RV.
Yeah, you guys want to have and it's a chore with the puppy in an RV because you got to walk him, you got to clean up after him. That's the main thing you do in the RV world. That's the name. So anyway, would you guys like to have a little puppy dog right here sitting?
Because that's what it would be. I would have because Crispy was my absolute support animal. Anytime this support animal was out of the house, Crispy was the support animal. So, yeah, but you know, it requires some.
What? Oh my,
Oh,
Brandi. Boy, that sucks.
yeah. Well, we'll be thinking of you tomorrow for sure. We'll be with you in spirit tomorrow. That's tough. That's tough. You know, I go back and forth.
Yeah,
Thinking back, like I go back and forth because I called the kids to come because it was in Missouri at the time. So the kids came over, and it was the 3 of us, and we were in the room when they injected him, and you know they prepped us for how the process would be.
I can't even talk about this.
Yeah, and I look back and I think
Because his aunt
had the same thing happen. Dog health went down and had to put him down, but they went
into the room afterwards.
wasn't in the room.
During.
Well, see, Brandi, the difference for me on what you're getting ready to go through tomorrow is my dog just wasn't. He was only 7. He wasn't feeling good for like 3 days. So Gretchen takes him into the shop, and she calls me 30 minutes later. She's like, "We got to put him down." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? I don't think so."
Yeah.
She said he had a tumor bleeding into his liver, and it wasn't going to make it through the weekend. And
Yeah, it was about to rupture, and
no yeah,
that would have ruptured his liver and bled into his abdomen. And it was a holiday weekend, and I was like,
holiday
we
weekend,
don't
so
really
we
have
had
a
no choice.
And he was already breathing weird.
He was really anyway. So
Sorry that you have to go through that
Yeah.
tomorrow because it ain't easy, and it doesn't get easier. Like it's a night. Like that's a year ago. I still miss him.
We miss him.
Oh, it's crazy.
My mom would come up and walk him because
the parents RV along with us, and one of the things that she did to help me out was she would come over and walk Crispy for me because a lot of times I just couldn't get out of the house to go walk him. So she would come over, walk him, and she's like, "I still miss that little guy."
Ugh. So what kind of dog? Before I know we're getting ready to be done. What kind of dog would we think about here?
We'll take any. We'll take some consensus here. I prefer dogs that don't shed a lot because we do live in a small space. I don't like having to deal with clean dog hair because I just don't want to do it. Like, it's hard for me to clean the floors very often as it is. I don't want to have to deal with a bunch of dog hair.
And the Yorkie was awesome.
The Yorkie was awesome.
I'd like to have a Welsh Corgi,
which is a shedding machine.
but also it actually needs to be a service dog, an actual service dog. So we don't know.
shedding straight.
Yeah, we grew up with German Shepherds, and we have one now that's my brother's dog. That's the ultimate dog, but he's a shedder.
Yeah, those big dogs.
Well, we also had a Zushan, which was a Shih Tzu Bichon Frise mix. And she was a cute, adorable little thing, didn't really shed, but just kind of dumb as a box of rocks, and loved her to death. The sweetest little thing. Yeah, we're
She
looking
was
at, we're looking at adopting, or we would look into adopting.
Yeah, adopt would be absolutely.
The thing that we're keeping in mind is that this particular animal may ultimately be a service animal for me when it comes to like the stuff happening with my brain, whether that be an upcoming seizure or any kind of what do you call it?
I don't know, but Brandi.
She was dumb as a box of rocks.
That dog would look in your eyes and there'd be nothing there. But she was fun and she loved everybody.
Yeah.
And then our Yorkie was like almost too smart.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we need the problem with the. So I would love to go and adopt all the dogs. I'm getting real sensitive to animals as I get older, like even stuff outside, groundhogs and raccoons. I'd be like, "You want to come inside? We'll take you."
If we went to a shelter to adopt, the
I don't know.
shelter would be emptied out probably.
I might go looking around someday for a dog that just comes up to me, and I'm down for that. Anyway. I think she needs to be done with her body.
I was actually gonna
but
try
hold
to
on.
find a quick, cute Oreo, to just because she just looks like, you know.
You can just type in white dog on search or something. Does anybody having big plans this week? What's anybody doing this week? I would have all the dogs. If we didn't live in an RV, I'd have a dog orphanage.
Yeah.
No, I think you get service dogs already trained. I think they're pretty expensive.
You can get your own animal and then take them to training.
Hey, this guy says you're hot.
You need your prescription checked.
I agree.
Unless you're speaking of someone
else, then I understand. But otherwise, need your eyes checked.
Oh. Yeah, I think you got to buy them, and I think they're pretty expensive. So.
Well, it's the training them that's the
training's
part.
expensive, but a good service dog is a good service dog. Like a good service dog will sense when she's getting ready to have some kind of an episode, and be over there. So, she is gorgeous. So it's up. She's real hard on herself.
This was Oreo. This was our Zushan. That's not a great picture of her, but she is just the sweetest.
That's right. And show them picture Crispy.
Yeah,
right
I'd
there.
like to have one of the two of them together. There's a great one of them together.
I wonder what the number one service dog is. Like type of dog.
That's a good question.
Now that's not the one that just. Well, actually, that dog did just pass away.
It's a video. I'm gonna do
Now so when we started RV life, here we had these 3 dogs.
I don't know if you guys can see that. So we had
Crispy the Yorkie, Oreo the Zushan, and Orlando the Maltese.
Anyway, the daughter
got to keep the Maltese. Anyway.
Hey, Brandi, she has pigs. I would love to have pigs. Pigs are the best.
That would be
awesome. Hey, do you guys dare us to get some pigs?
No. Stop. No encouragement.
I think I'm down for the pig thing. I want a pig and a raccoon and a groundhog.
All right.
Ugh, boy, you've had a rough animal go.
Do you live on a farm or just land that has
a few animals? I grew up-ish in the summers, spending summers in northeast Oklahoma in a little town called Juan, Oklahoma. And my maternal grandparents had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
I knew it. I knew that was coming.
They had a couple of horses, quite a bit of cattle,
Nice.
some pigs.
What else the heck?
I don't
did
know,
they
but
have?
we can get little pigs. She says they're too big for the camper. We can get little pigs.
I think those are called piglets, and they turn into bigger pigs.
Oh.
They turn into bigger pigs, and then you got to do something with them.
Yeah.
An acre lot. Okay.
Yeah. I love that because, I mean, if we ever went for the non-RVing, I mean, there would be box gardens. I'd have garden, growing some of my own vegetables, and yes, and maybe like a chicken coop, and
We'd have a ginormous pond to fish in.
Well, obviously, even though you don't eat fish, but yeah, teacup pigs.
I knew it. I knew it.
Oh my goodness.
And do they poop a lot? Like a hamster just walk around and pooped all the time, or we'll just get diapers?
For anyone who has read the James Patterson's Alex Cross series, in one of those books, I can't remember which one it is, they kill somebody.
The pigs have already ate your chicken feed in your garden.
Exactly. We would have to. They'd have to be some serious protection.
But in the James Patterson books,
Okay, potty train.
one of the people that gets killed, they take him to this guy's childhood pig farm, and the pigs just, ate every single little bit of that person that they killed. Nothing left over.
I love how the first 3/4 of the podcast were pretty focused on brain fog,
Yeah,
and by the end, anything goes.
that's right.
It's pigs and dog shedding and whatever else.
So it wouldn't offend me if for like the first 30 minutes, whenever I'm just gabbing about what I'm going to gab about, if no one shows up, and then you're like, okay, it's 8:30.
Now we can talk about stuff. To be honest, though, we can get off topic pretty quick at the beginning as well. You guys just got to lead us there.
Right.
I don't know, though. I'm the type of personality where if I have something I need that I'm going to say, I'm going to rein it back in until I've got it all said.
You're the type of personality you are.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that.
And I just love that comment. In my mind, the pigs already ate your garden and your feed.
Yep. So back to Brandi asking some insight from the husband's side. You didn't really answer that.
So, I mean, I feel like you still need to answer Brandy's question.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you just get zoned into the, like yesterday, I asked you if you were okay because you said a couple things in text. I was just like you said something like, I thought I heard my mom in there talking to you, and I'm like, that was off. So you just get zoned in, you get protective of other people, because other people with autoimmune diseases, people from the outside can't tell. They don't know. So from the outside, she looks fine because you guys get good at faking it. You're tough. You hide it. And I'm zoned into all that
So
stuff.
she suggests, how is it for you?
Oh, me specifically? Well, I think it's just, it's my life. I don't know how to, I'm just always focused in on what you need, how you're doing, if we need to stop doing something, if we need to stop, if we need to go somewhere, I'm just zoned in, I guess.
So there, obviously with different people having different personalities, Chris is the ultimate protector, of his entire family, of his friends. He's an ultimate protector, and he's also very in tune to what's going on he's almost an empath. I
was going to say, probably to a point to it where it's too much.
Sometimes.
Not for me, but for you.
Sometimes it can be
a bit much just because I get stubborn,
Right.
But
yeah, I'm like, I know exactly what's happening in her world, whether she knows I know or not. And I'm a problem solver. I want to make it better. Where sometimes she just wants to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so we can clash a little bit there. I don't understand why you got to feel like that if you don't have to. We can go somewhere else. You can take some, it's easy for me to say over here when she's just like, I'm just going to deal with it and just leave me alone.
Yeah.
So, we probably need to find a. I don't know. We found a pretty good, but I'm a little overbearing on what she needs to do. I'm her doctor, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if she's acting a certain way, and I can tell she hadn't taken a certain medicine, like that's how in tune I'm like, babe, have you taken your name because you're.
Well,
She's like, actually, I don't know, or something like that.
And now we've been through enough over the course of the last, it was what, 2014, 15, when we moved into the, it was 16 when we moved into the RV. And so it's been 9 years in the RV. And just in the past, since 2020, in the past 5 years, we've really been through some significant health waves, if you will, with my situation. And the 2 hospitalizations of having 4 and 5 days of basically
full on psychosis.
Psychosis, not.
It's not basically. It's full on.
I had no idea where I was, what was going on. I was I wasn't like, I would say hallucinating, but I wasn't having full on visual hallucinations. But I was out of it. Like I thought I thought I was in like World War II setting in the hospital at one point, and the Nazis were trying to kill my family. I mean, it was wild.
Well, the first time you thought you were Stephen Hawking.
Oh, right, yeah, and then I went through the circle of trying to reason that out, and each time I came to, anyway, it was just a weird
I chalked
thing.
that first one up to COVID, and then you weren't sleeping, weren't eating, obsessing over COVID for like 5 days. She didn't sleep, so I chalked that first one up to COVID. So 5 years later, when it happened again, I was like, oh. Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
It was the same situation. She was obsessing and not sleeping, not eating, and I don't know about taking her medicine or not. But what ultimately, Ativan is what got her out of that both times. So now we have a prescription for that. So I'm making sure she's getting enough sleep, eating enough, not obsessing over stuff, and we've been good.
And so, Brandi, yeah, 100%. It is a man thing, wanting to fix things, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But from my perspective, when I'm like, I'm taking everything that I'm supposed to be taking, and I'm still dealing with this, and there's almost a self-pity party that will go on. You know, I'll be like,
and justifiably so. Justifiably so. Of course, you get sick of that. You know, you were healthy, you had a functioning doctor practice. Of course, you have every right to be sad, and your body sucks, and now you have some neurological. Because for a long time, her body wasn't working, but her brain, and it's still fine, but she has some issues now, but her brain was all she had left. So now that she's having some trouble with that, you can get super sad super quick.
Yeah, like there's times, if there's more, like I said earlier, if there's more than one conversation happening around me, like I'll have to put in earplugs.
Yeah, she can't be triangulated.
Because it sends my brain into like a literal fizzy. It goes into a hissy fit. My brain does, and I start having weird, crazy feelings, which is what led me to the hospitalizations. And I'm like, I have to somehow put the kibosh on that.
Well, I'm the living alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that would really come with the challenge of trying to make the modifications like I kind of talked about last week, with modifying what your daily routine is and coming up with ways to make it easier for yourself, and strategies of how to deal with just day-to-day functioning. And
do we know her health? I can't remember.
Marianne? SLE.
And what's that?
Lupus.
Oh.
So, you know, it's like, not to be like gross or whatever, but I mean, I just assess day by day how I am doing, and I mean, it may be literal 5-6 days before I'm up for taking a shower. I mean, just a simple wash off.
Well, it goes back to that 60 spoons article. You know, you start the day with 60 spoons, and a shower you take 10, going out to eat take 10. Well, we don't start the day with 60 spoons anymore. We have about 8.
Well,
and so taking a shower, you're done.
And quite frankly, every day, I had said on one other podcast, it was like, if I forget to do the dishes the night before, I may have even fewer spoons
So
that I'm starting the day with. So
this comment, you know, it's hard to accept that I used to be busy, and I would imagine every person with lupus feels exactly like that.
Yeah.
You know, Gretchen's a busybody. She used to take 2 showers a day, clean the floors. You know, she was wanting to do seminars and travel. And
Well, as
by
a
the
matter of
way,
fact, I was actually training in medical school. I was doing some, I guess you can call it training, but prepping, if you will, with the dean of the school because I was the president of my medical school class, our second, third, and fourth years. And so I was working with the dean of the medical school to develop like leadership skills because my ultimate goal was, my long-term goal was I would be a dean of a medical school. Well, I mean, all that's out the window. So I was like planning out my long-term career, and then it's just
and
gone.
and by the way, you'll never accept it.
Yeah.
You got to forgive yourself. Like, she's so hard on herself. And I understand, but you got to forgive yourself. It's not your fault, and then you got to figure out how to deal with it.
But it's probably once every 2 weeks, I'll be like, babe, I'm really sorry that this is, that this is a situation that we're in. This isn't where I pictured our life being.
Like, you don't ever have to say sorry to me.
He's like, we're good.
I'm not the one dealing with it.
So again, Brandi, going back to how it's like for him, ultimate protector, the ultimate fixer, and just able to, once he commits to something in his mind and is in, he's just in and just will go with the flow, and whatever that looks like.
It's me and her against the world.
Yeah.
And against these stupid diseases. And these diseases are frustrating. Let's talk about lupus, but a lot of them are the same. They don't get any respect. Nobody understands them. They're hard to diagnose. Even doctors don't give them their just due. And it cannot be more frustrating when it comes to either getting meds or getting treated or whatever. They're not understood. And there's so many of them that are very similar.
Yeah.
And just getting a diagnosis is hard enough, just like our daughter. She has lupus, but they've diagnosed her with rheumatoid arthritis, and those two are pretty close. But lupus is way better or way worse, and they're all bad though. They're all bad, and they just don't get any respect. Respect's not the word, but you know what I mean. Acknowledgement, whatever. So it's pretty frustrating. It's a frustrating life because you are not what you were.
Yeah.
And then the exhaustion, the pain, the brain fog, all of it.
Yeah, exactly. The diagnosis by exclusion. And it really shouldn't be that way. There's such the hallmark signs, and even if there's not a single test, it's just like I have said over and over and over. I get really frustrated with the medical community because we spend what feels like more time documenting and doing the stuff for keeping compliant with Medicare guidelines and all of that when it comes to the new electronic medical system. So the EMRs have taken away the actual sitting down doctor-patient relationship face-to-face. It's not a face-to-face situation anymore. It's a doctor to computer to maybe every now and again lifting their eyes off their computer to look at you.
Well, first of all, they're paid by RVUs. Is that what you call it? Anyway, if you're a doctor and you're not seeing 30 patients a day, you're not getting your bonuses. That's another insight that you don't know because you haven't been a doctor. But
they force you to see a ton of people a day, and half of the time or more you're spending it on the computer. Actually, probably in reality, 60% of the time you're spending it on the computer because you're documenting, and the actual face-to-face patient time is so listening to a patient. If doctors can just take the time to sit and listen to, Brandi, that's okay.
We're almost done
You
anyway.
Do your thing. We would be so much better off if doctors could just have the luxury again to listen to their patients, because then you can put the story together and come up with what's going on.
As we all know, a doctor is hard to find. That's what Gretchen could do. It's hard to find one that both listens and understands.
Right.
It's hard to they either have bedside manners or they don't.
Right.
And so if you get one with both things you need, better stick with them.
Well, and then there's not only just the listening, but then there's the actual listening.
Right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Hearing what they're saying, because what they are telling you what's going on, you just have to be willing to hear it and receive it
and then put that together into what then would be a differential diagnosis to then ultimately the final diagnosis. And it's just, yeah.
So that Brandi comment right there,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking you're going through the same thing and you're just not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see her over here moving her leg. We're in any kind of 90-degree position. Like, if we go out to dinner for an hour, that's it.
My
That's
left hip is all locked up over here.
Yeah, so. Well, I guess we better leave. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And next week at 8 a.m., right?
At 9 Central.
9 Central, 8 a.m. We're Mountain
We're
time,
Mountain,
right?
so it's 8 Mountain, 9 Central.
And if you guys haven't seen the flooding, we're in Ruidoso, New Mexico. If you haven't seen the deadly flooding,
It's all in shorts.
yeah, go
shorts
to
videos.
TikTok and look at that. I mean, just devastating. I was almost all up in that too. I got turned around. I was going down in the valley. As it was happening. So go check some of those videos out. Just crazy stuff. So love you guys, babe.
Male Lou. So good to have that clarification.
What is that? Oh,
Male
yeah.
Lou. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.